But this talk tonight, to disappoint everyone, is going to be G-rated. So, yeah, I tried to keep the content as clean as possible because I didn't want to fucking offend anyone. So, we're gonna go. So, a little about me real quick. I work for LARES doing red team, social engineering and pen testing and physical testing. I also own and operate Squirrels and Barrel. We operate the World Championship of Social Engineering every year in Vegas. And we'll get to that in a minute because tonight at SetKC we have a special announcement here for only KC first. What we're going to do this year is our 4th year of the World Championship of Social Engineering in Las Vegas. What we do is we provide the world's only legal, largest social engineering sandbox for you to play in. We give you 48 hours in the entire realm of the Tuscany Suites in Vegas. That is the playing field. You get to do whatever the hell you wanted to do within the legal limits of the rules, which are only there to keep your ass out of jail. That's the only reason why we have rules. Anything else you can actually do. So we want you to actually do social engineering hands-on, physically, and experience it in a safe environment. For example, the rules that we add in don't do dumpster diving, because no one wants to fucking dumpster dive in Vegas. It is awful, even for work. So we have a belt that's up for grabs. We have the guy that does all the belts for the WWF, MMA, and Nathan's Hot Dog Championship does our belt. It is pure 100% 24 karat goldish material, and it is in high demand. All of our winners that have won have gone on to some really interesting jobs and opportunities, so not only is it a fun game, it creates opportunities for people, and the best part is it's free. So this year we're returning back to B-Sides, Las Vegas. We also do regionals throughout the regions. If any company wants us to come in, we do a social engineering capture flag, or we go to local B-Sides or other security conferences and provide them for free. Each of the regionals, the winner wins a Golden Squirrel Trophy. We always have puzzle pieces in them that lead up to Vegas and give people a heads up in Vegas and a leg up. So this year, against all better advice and thoughts and legal advice, we're crossing the streams of doing something that hasn't been done before. So we're combining and crossing streams with the pros versus Joes capture the flag. So not only will you be able to do social engineering, you'll be able to interact with the red team and blue team members and facilitate attacks on the targets that we have. We have live companies that you're going to attack and mess around with. Everything's screened off, safe, and legal for you. We have 3 lawyers on staff that have gone through everything. In addition to that, we have been doing the B-Sides puzzles leading up. There's 6 puzzles leading up to B-Sides. Each puzzle, we teamed up with 666 Zip Town Records out of Topeka. They're providing us with music and artists and other things. Each of the puzzles is audio-based only. When all the puzzles are assembled at the end, you will have a complete album. In addition to that, you also get pieces that lead into the game. So the puzzle game also leads into the capture the flag. So we have 3 games simultaneously leading into the one in Vegas later on for all of you to enjoy. So that's a big announcement, and it's something that's never been done before, and we're very, very excited to be doing it for you guys for free. So back to the actual thing at hand here, I want to show you guys a little bit about fashion and how it plays into social engineering. A few weeks ago, Paul.com, or Paul Security Weekly, sorry, had a segment about the Dapper Hacker. They spoke a little bit about appropriate attire on the client side. We're going to take a step further and actually explore the exploitable angle of what's at play. So what's at play here is perception, and perception in the world around us is key. We always hear about different things about how people look, their appearances, and everything else. Sorry. Threw me off. So perception is key. Perception is so powerful in the world around us, it's stronger than gravity. And if you remember a few months ago, this made national news for some fucking reason. So never, ever, ever lose sight that perception is the most powerful force in the universe. How we perceive things is so powerful and shifts and changes, and we can take advantage of that. So how we do that with our appearance and fashion is keep in mind that 95% of your body is clothed. That's the largest portion of your body. Only 5% being your head and accessories and items are not that well noticeable and compose the rest of it. With that in mind, first impressions are made within the first 30 seconds, and of that, the initial impression is only made in under the first 5 seconds. And when you think about that, you look at someone from a distance and they're walking towards you, you've already made the judgment about them, and you're looking at them and you're looking at their clothes, because that's the most visible, largest portion of their body. So we're going to take advantage of that when you go out on like Pentest or social engineering engagements and you have to break in somewhere. How do you go about doing that? You can't just walk in with a fucking hoodie or a DEF CON t-shirt. They're not going to let you in anywhere. So we take advantage of their perception. Because you want to blend in. If you do not blend in, you stick out, you fuck the pen test, it's not pretty, it looks like this. So if you do not do your research properly or your OSINT, you're going to end up looking like this in front of the client, explaining to the client, well, gee, I fucked up, I ran in with a kilt and a DEF CON t-shirt and some Vibram 5-finger shoes. I don't know why they fucking caught me. So the first step in all this is OSINT, Open Source Intelligence Gathering. And how this gets specific to what our goal is we want to gather information on our target, we want to pursue our target's culture, and really integrate ourselves into both their vernacular and their imagery and what makes up the company. You want to inject yourself into the company as if you were an employee. So it's important right now to remember that clothing and fashion accessories should only be an augmentation to your pretext. It should not become the pretext. An example of this is I can dress up as a security guard and just fucking walk right into a company because they see that I'm a security guard. However, with that uniform on, I have the obligations of a security guard to walk around and be places I should be, rather than why the fuck is a security guard in the server room plugging in a phone plug to the server room? So by setting up myself as a security guard and walking in, yeah, I can get in, but I don't show value to the client because a security guard is not going to be running around where I want to go and do things. People will notice that, and again, I will stick out like the prior picture.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
This is Bill.
Dude, I can't drink, actually.
Well, you can give it to somebody else, but we have a tradition here at SetKC. If you have a slide with Pedo Bear on it, you get a shot. Okay. So, is there anyone that you would like to designate?
Jordan,
give it to Bill!
No. Yeah. Got match.
Woo! So there is a funny story sometime if you guys want to find me later involving Pedo Bear at DEF CON taking a cab ride with my dad. So again, make sure that whatever you're doing does not become a gimmick. Make sure that your clothing and your uniform that you're preparing is going to help augment that pretext. So rather than being the security guard, it might be better to go, hey, let me look up and see what the common IT guys wear, or the IT department. Let me dress like them and maybe tailgate in. That would be a better use. So with the gathering of information, we want to really get into some specifics of like, what are they wearing? How are they wearing it? Do they have uniforms? Where do they get uniforms? Where would you find this stuff? What does everyone look like? Things like that are what we're going to really zero in on to help develop this exploit. What I start out with as a methodology is I start looking in social media and file and photo sharing sites. So I go through those, I start looking for pictures of employees or company functions. And it's amazing what you can find out there, company functions. If any of you and all of you should go back to your companies tomorrow morning and reevaluate what kind of policy you have for photographs and actual functions, because you'd be surprised at what kind of pictures are already out on the internet. If that does not work, or that does not yield a whole lot, I go out and I start searching for company dress codes. I also pick that up anyway so I can verify if, through the pictures, if there's anything that is valid, such as the company dress code states you can only wear suits or whatever. If I go out and look at the pictures, I can validate that and see, well, yes, there are policies in place, they do obviously enforce it, I better dress with a suit. The other thing that's great is company newsletters. Internal company newsletters and external are fucking awesome because it is just a diarrhea fountain of information. People just do not realize what they're putting in there. You can see how people are, their normal day-to-day mannerisms. You can see the speech and the vernacular of the company, which is important if you're going to launch a phishing attack, because you do not want to write a well-crafted phishing template that's well written and doesn't use the company's language. People will pick up on that and it'll stick out. Next thing I go look at is company branding or IDs, style guide sheets. Simply Google that phrase and you'll get a text or a website that guides you through how you're supposed to use a company's logo, colors, text, everything. There's plenty of information in that to help you falsify or forge a ID card. Also go through and start mapping out the company functions, find org charts, see if they use any third parties or anything. Also check out employee blogs and media sites. It's awesome what people and employees put out on websites. I'd say a large portion of the successful pen tests and social engineering engagements I've had have been a direct result of an employee either posting an ID badge or a picture with an ID badge out there or something else they shouldn't have. So with information to help gather information and find stuff through OSINT, here are some tools that aren't commonly used or known about or talked about. Search Diggity basically takes Google hacking to a whole nother level and allows you to automate it. It's by Stotch and Liu, and I think Bishop Fox picked it up now. You basically take all the Google hacking database expressions and several other odds and ends. You simply put in the domain name, click it, and it goes and goes and goes and goes and crawls the entire intertubes for you. Spokio and People are great for looking up personal information on people. And as a result, it's great if you cannot find information on an individual or a last-ditch Hail Mary effort. I go to People or Spokio, you'll find some really bizarre stuff. Spiderfoot is really great if you do not know about that or use that for pen testing in your toolkit. It should be there now. It is really cool, allows you to fast fingerprint the entire perimeter of a company or a target. And it's very nice for finding directories and other things that might be out there, such as directories that might have employee pictures or other things or badge templates. LinkedIn is really good. It's just amazing for finding information on people. No matter what you think, the security and the control mechanisms in LinkedIn are not functioning properly and do not work. So it's very nice and easy to go through and dig out people's information. There are two things that I don't see people talk about that you should look into is Yik Yak. Yik Yak is a social media app for your phones. It does anonymous posting of 140 character messages or less in a geographic area of 2 miles or less. So you're only going to get people talking randomly or anonymously in a 2-mile radius area, which is great because that zeroes down into the area of your company and target, and you can start monitoring their employees. When employees think that they are posting anonymously, they will say any fucking thing they want. They will post shit. We've even found fucking PIN numbers for places posted because people were disgruntled and pissed off. The other thing that you can help in that angle is look up Glassdoor. Glassdoor, you can get a temperature of a place, such as what the employees are saying, how the interview process is. HR posts a lot of information out on the Glassdoor that they shouldn't, and it's really awesome. But you can also get a temperature of how people interact and what the culture is through Glassdoor. So, to further prove a point, if you go through style guides or dress code searches out there, you'll find stuff of even people creating memes inside of these manuals and everything. And again, this illustrates a point. You don't want to stick out. They're pointing out to this lady who's not dressed business casual, and they even point it out in their manual. Again, newsletters are awesome because you get a sense of how people dress day to day in the business and how they interact. You don't see the typical website public image that you get. You get to see day to day how they're doing. You also get to see all the cool information that obviously the legal department or the InfoSec department has not screened before they release it. And we have found everything from the controls and explanations on turnstiles and security systems on companies that we've broken into just from the company newsletters. So that should be a very, very big resource you hit first. And if you have one in your company, you should probably go in there tomorrow and go, hey, what's the process of vetting articles and content before we put it out to the world? So now this talking, we've talked about kind of how to frame ourselves and to do some research with OSINT on how to go in, how to kind of profile a company, see how people are dressed and everything. And granted, I only have 45 minutes here. This is usually something I do like a 2-week or a multi-day workshop for, so we're cramming it in right here, right now. So how do I get some extra items of clothing or uniforms you may not be able to get a hold of? On the Paul.com or Paul Security Weekly podcast, they mentioned, Larry mentioned that it was impossible to get certain uniforms at certain companies, and I'll show you tonight that's not the case. What I love doing is going to Goodwill. It is fucking incredible. Go to the Goodwill, thrift store, thrift shop, Salvation Army, whatever the fuck it's called. Buy your Target. And I guarantee you, you will find all sorts of amazing things. I know we have fed people in the house, so I won't mention some of the things I found, but they were reported. It's pretty amazing what can be found at thrift stores. So what I like to do is go around and pick up items such as things that can help in situations. I had one job where I had to break into a data center. The data center had a biometric reader, camera, one door in, one door out. The SOC could view everyone coming in. The client basically set me up for failure. There was no fucking way I was going to get in. So went to a thrift store, went shopping, came back, got my handy dandy clipboard, which all of you should have, because this is the most powerful tool in the universe. This gives you so much power. If you have this in your hands and you're walking around the hallways at work, you look like you're busy or you're on a mission. So if you're breaking into places, this is a great thing. I also like the ones that open up, simply because the fact if you're going around to a copy room or your printer area or common area, you can grab documents, throw it in there, walk out the door, and no one knows the better. So with a handy dandy, handy dandy clipboard and a little bit of this, so it's a Dell certified technician t-shirt or shirt. So it's a polo. So I put that on, created a forged work order, put it on the handy dandy clipboard, knocked on the door, said, hey, I'm here to look at the racks. I just need some serial numbers. I don't got to touch nothing. I just got to make sure these things are in the racks. Can you just let me back there and do it? Sure enough, they looked at the work order, looked legit. I had a shirt on. Again, we're playing with their perception. They expect a technician to show up. So we took advantage of that perception by augmenting it with the shirt, and I dressed up like a technician, and to augment it with an accessory, I had a clipboard with a work order. The guy even signed the work order for me. It was pretty bad. I felt like a total asshole. So, to show Larry Pesci wrong, he stated that it was nearly impossible to get a hold of shirts and uniforms from major delivery parcel services such as FedEx, DHL, UPS, etc. So you can find a lot of things at a thrift store. But even better is you can find clothing that you normally would pick up, like Docker slacks and a shirt. And the benefit to that is, not only is it cheap, but it looks worn. And that's a key thing. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, which is probably going to date my age actually, the rave scene in Kansas City was pretty funny because the Kansas City undercover cops would show up to raves wearing a neatly pressed, out-of-the-package Pink Floyd shirt tucked into jeans and tactical boots.
At the Red Barn.
Yeah, exactly. And some other places in Olathe. But G Coffee. Yeah. So again, you always want to pay attention to details. But with the clothing, you can get stuff that's very worn, and why that's important is you don't want to run in looking like, hey, I just pulled this off the rack. You want to look like you've been there. So worn clothes and well-worn items are good at Goodwill, so you don't have to distress them. Again, I don't have time, but I actually go through and show you guys how to distress materials, such as putting rock salt in a dryer to distress clothing and everything. So again, it all boils down to details. So do your homework. OSINT composes everything, and it makes or breaks an engagement. OSINT should compose 85% of your actual engagement process, because your actual exploit is only going to take seconds, just like using Metasploit. And the rest of the time needs to be spent for documentation. So the majority of upfront work will make or break the engagement. Use company pictures to really look in and zero into the similarities, so that way you can really profile of how to dress yourself and blend in. Another thing to note is how badges are worn. This will kill you. Some companies wear badges with the lanyards, others have them hanging, others have them clips. That will give you away, because people see people every day at work and they're used to the image of how someone wears a badge or how it's expected. If you change that up, people will zero in on you immediately. Also remember, the small things add up. If you're going to a hospital impersonating someone at a hospital and you put scrubs on, those scrubs better match the color scheme that they have. But certain hospitals have different colors of scrubs for different roles and tasks. Also, if you're going into a hospital, pay attention to details like your shoes. If you're wearing scrubs, you don't want to wear boots. You want to wear very comfortable, well-worn-in shoes. You don't want to wear new sneakers. Those are little details you need to start thinking about that give you away. And at the end of the day, keep it simple. Like again, this is all about using fashion to augment the pretext, not become the pretext. So some other things to think about with details in the extreme angle. You always have to think about everything, and what someone does not tell you about red team testing or engagements is there is no calling time out. So you might find yourself in a situation in which you're stuck above ceiling tiles in a building for a really long time, and you fucked up because you drank a lot of coffee the night before. So there are a lot of things out there that you have to consider detail-wise, because you cannot call time out in an engagement, and that's just life. So the other thing I advocate is dressing in layers. What I love doing is getting a jacket. You can start out getting into a site with a jacket. Jacket has a lot of pockets, looks benign, looks business casual, can be taken off. You can carry it. If you carry it, it can help you facilitating pickpocketing badges and other things. It can also be a prop, help you act clumsy, drop, and fall over and pick up things. But at the end of the day, dressing in layers is nice because you can change your appearance immediately, like a hat. I can drastically change my appearance by adding or subtracting a hat, removing my glasses, adding glasses, removing a sport coat, removing a tie, or dress in layers, so maybe you take the button-down shirt off all the way. Why this is important is maybe sometimes once you get in somewhere, you've kind of burned your entrance in and you need to facilitate a change and pivot around. And what I like to do is going into bathrooms and changing, or just changing anywhere I can and running around inside the building as well. Avoid loud colors or logos. You want to avoid anything that can identify you when you change. So you want to avoid some very obvious things. Again, you should never ever impersonate any law enforcement official, officer, agent, etc. Not only is that stupid and illegal, it shows no value to the client at all. It's fucking stupid. All you do is you show that your employees are susceptible in following the law and susceptible to a little bit of gullibility. That's all you're measuring. It shows no value to the client. Avoid big brands and logos so you can't be centered out. Avoid gimmicks. And what I mean by gimmicks is the following.
Depends.
As you can see, I resemble all hacker clip art at this point. I have all my tactical equipment on that I need for the job. My face is concealed. I'm in all black. I stick out so bad. I stick out. There's no comparison. You never want to wear all black. Never want to do gimmicks.
Can't see you. Turn on the lights.
Exactly. Because the main point is you don't want to draw attention to yourself. If you're all dressed in black and you're digging through a dumpster at night, you're really going to stick out. So, no gimmicks. Gimmicks will give you away. Avoid tactical clothing. Do not dress in any dark clothing at all. And why I say that is if you're digging through a dumpster and you're just wearing a pair of khakis, you're going to appear like you belong there. And you can get out of things easier. If you're wearing a pair of khakis and you look like you belong, digging through the dumpster because you lost your retainer your contacts, or whatever, fill in the gap. Streaking, I can tell you from firsthand experience, my good friend Bob used streaking to facilitate a distraction to a guard station to let his friends in. It is very effective. It is illegal. In a lot of jurisdictions, it is actually a sex crime. You'll end up on a sex offender list if you're caught. So while streaking is an effective tool, don't do it. Also, freshly purchased clothes give you away. Restrictive clothing. While skinny jeans might look good on you, if you're going to do running, climbing, or other things, you may not have kids if you do that. So avoid things that are restrictive, because also, if you have loose-fitting clothing, you can dress in layers, shed layers, hide stuff in pockets and pants and stuff. If you're wearing jeggings or whatever, like Corey does, it's not going to allow you to facilitate stuffing things in places. Also, the number one thing is don't violate the dress code. That's why you did the research in the first place. So that's all good. Let's apply it to some scenarios that you can actually take out and do. What I do first is think about how do I get in, and how I facilitate that is think about what support systems are in place. And what I mean by that is what third parties are employed by that target company. So is there someone that comes in and sprays for bugs? Is there trash pickup? Is there janitorial service? Is there Cintas? Is there a uniform company? What infrastructure and support through third parties they have, that's the easiest way to get in as well. Because it's very easy to, again, that same data center that I spoke about earlier, I had to go back and test it a second time, which I thought, oh, I'm fucked. I walked right straight to the front door, and these people saw me, they signed my work order last year. They obviously are not going to let me in this place, and they were really pissed off last year. So, went to Walmart in the middle of the night, because I was pissed off and trying to figure out how to get in here. I just picked up a simple pair of overalls. I then went over to the home and garden section and picked up a bug sprayer. I worked up a work order. On the work order, I mentioned that the bug spray content, the insecticide, was very dangerous. It contained dihydrogenated oxygen. So I filled it full of dihydrogenated oxygen, knocked on the front door again, had a hat, hadn't shaved in about 7 days, had a cigarette hanging out my mouth, and asked them, hey, I'm here to spray for bugs. And the guy just looked at me for a little bit, and I showed him the work order, and he said, okay. So I went in, and I sprayed the dihydrogenated oxygen in corners around the data center, away from the equipment, picked up what I needed to, had the guy sign the work order, and left. Again, we took advantage of the perception and the simple bug sprayer we picked up because of the third-party services through building management. They had no idea of identifying who was who or what. I had a work order, I looked official, I took advantage of his perception, had a uniform on. What's there to deny, or how does he validate that? So he let me in. So change of clothes is very important, I stressed earlier. Sometimes when you get in past security, you may be on camera and you're burned. So you need to facilitate a change of clothes. You don't want to run around with a backpack or anything. As least possible amount of materials on your person as possible is what you need, otherwise you're going to stick out. You want to look like an employee. So take a change of clothes with you, get into the bathroom. In the bathroom, you can use the most successful social engineering accessory I'll show you today, and I'll show you how to make it. It's pretty powerful. You use this mechanism, you put it in the bathroom, it gives you privacy, and then you change your clothes, stuff the clothes up on the ceiling, or stash them somewhere, and move about your day. How that works is you use this special device, and you put it on the door of the stall. That gives you time to just sit in the stall and no one's going to bug you. As dumb as this sounds, make sure it's handwritten, because if it's handwritten, it's easy to buy off, and no one wants to fuck with the stall that's broken. No one wants to look in there, no one wants to deal with it. We just assume it's bad, handwritten note. And you can even stash your equipment there all day if you need to, too. Believe me, this is a powerful tool. Very expensive, too.
Hey, what's on the bottom right-hand corner? What does that say?
I actually don't remember. I was bored. I had to sit in the bathroom for 3 hours. So,
No, we're really serious.
again, I condensed this down to about 45 minutes because I want you guys to get the really meat and potatoes of, hey, you can use perception in your everyday of how you dress and use that, frame it as you would creating exploits and take advantage of that. So remember, clothing is going to augment things, it should not become the pretext. And visual input is very, very powerful. Perception is the most powerful force in this universe. You can take advantage of it, you can shape it, you can craft it, you can move it around. And always remember to research everything, otherwise you're going to end up looking like something in a peanut butter slide. Anyone have any questions? Bueller? Bueller?
So Aaron, we got something special for you, man. All right, Brian, let's kick it off.
What?
All right, let's hear it for Aaron Crawford. All right, everybody, thank you for coming to the second